I welcome you to the fresh episode of Fridays with Dawle. We are moving with COVID, and there is a further vision what one has to develop the qualities post COVID. COVID has given us a lot of time, stress, anxiety, and also an opportunity to develop a lot of skills, attitude, and knowledge so that we are better equipped not only to deal with the COVID but develop an attitude and attributes so that we are able to formulate a perspective in which we are able to deal many medical conditions through the learning which we have received in this COVID times. So let's move and what we have learned by managing COVID items or COVID time. So post COVID time is going to be a challenge for all the medical fraternity, and it is going to pose challenge not because of the alone the COVID complications or the long-term impact, but also the variety of other illnesses which will need much deeper and much extensive explorations. And the learning which we have received from this COVID management will be handful to transform us from a fundamental clinician to a growing researcher. Research, when we speak, is not something great or very big. It is the mindset which changes a clinician to researcher or an integration of clinician into researcher. So we need to get into the habit, and this habit formation will only happen if we are consciously and actively indulge ourselves into these practices. So to inculcate these habits, we need to develop an insight that how one looks at these phenomena which we have seen as a spectrum of COVID disorders, and what learning are we deriving, what insight we are deriving, and how we structured our future. So let's move and understand the post-COVID times and what mindset changes we need from a clinician to a researcher in a day-to-day clinical practice. So what are the objectives of this presentation? This will be a presentation, we will do it in two parts. Today is the first part of the series, and the objectives are valid for both the sessions. They are to understand the mindset of the clinician. How does a clinician work? With what mindset? What are his priorities? How does he function in a clinical setup? Then we also need to understand the mindset of researcher. Can clinician be researcher? Can researcher be clinician? Are they independent? Or it is an integration or continuation? Or this is just a role playing? One has to inculcate. What are the limits and limitations clinician has? What are the limits and limitations the researcher has? And what transformation in a mindset which are needed for a clinician to become a researcher so that he can bring in a better qualities to help his patient. So to understand the process of developing a research mindset. So how does a clinician develops this research mindset? Because many of us just hear the name of the research and we take a backseat. Said it is none of our cup of tea. We will just take up the cases, we will treat them, and we are happy doing it. But are we aware of that we are a researcher within? And once it becomes conscious, we will be a better clinical researcher, a better laboratory researcher, and will contribute to science as a whole for a time to come. So let's move and let's understand what processes one needs to inculcate. This is the case number 1. This was very early during COVID time. I think it was almost the time of early May month, in which the first of the case which came to us. This was the person who was working as an assistant accountant and who was handling receptions on the ground floor where both IPD and OPD patients come, and he is the first person to address to them. He was being equipped well with the PPE and followed all universal precaution. In spite of that, on a 3rd of May, he develops a fever. Now with this fever, he had a whole body was hot with headache. He had numbness and he had sense of swelling overhead with body ache. But there were no respiratory symptoms with that. The other part of the generals, he was more sleepy. He wanted, the thirst was okay. The weakness was there. So from those perspective, I mean, since it was a telephone call at a midnight, he took Dolo. And he was asked that you better report tomorrow. On the next day, again, on a telephone, the fever continued between 102 to 103. The headache was there, the body ache was there, burning in abdomen with one episode of vomiting. The generals continued to be same almost, with reduced activity, with increased sleep, and the chilly patient. He had taken Dolo previous night, which he was better. But in the next day when he came, he was prescribed Gelsemium 200. Now this is a first encounter with COVID, unknown virus, with the unknown path, with the unknown outcome, with lot of things going around in the media. And that was the initial time when COVID has become a real stigma, where patients suffering from COVID were being quarantined and were being put into 14 days in an isolation place. So looking at these symptoms, we advised him that it's better that he go ahead with the COVID test. So next day, he reports in OPD. Now fever is comparatively fluctuating, but not that much better. Along with all generals were same. And he developed a peculiar mental state and he saw a peculiar dreams. What he had was, his head was hot, he had an occipital headache with cold extremity, he had feeling giddy, he had a burning type of pain in abdomen, but still there are no cold, cough, breathlessness. So we first tried to rule out all other common illnesses which are available. So malarial antigen was negative, MP was negative, typhoid dot was negative, dengue was negative, his LFT was normal, except some urine protein and ketone. Ketosis was there because of the continuous high fever. But what was striking was, along with these symptoms, his activity was reduced, he was sleepy, extreme weakness, he wanted to lie down, his mood was irritable, he was unable to concentrate, and the thoughts and the fear and the anxiety which came up, that कुछ तकलीफ तो नहीं होगी ना, मुझे लगता है COVID हो गया, he felt that he has got COVID, will I not face major issues? I am feeling anxious and fearful. And then he got dreams also, that somebody has come to beat him, the dreams of death, and he saw a lot of dead bodies. Now this is a peculiar mindset in which there are a lot of anxiety, fear, which has gone to the level of subconscious. That somebody has come to kill him, his own death, and he's seeing people also dying. I mean, it was the whole atmosphere was like this, and anybody developing fever will have this pattern of mental state coming up, not the same or a similar mental state, but the fear was predominant and anxiety was predominant. But what is characteristic is his subconscious mind connecting with his conscious mind and the state in which the whole disease is developing. So we picked up all these characteristics and repertorized the case. You saw phosphorus and arsenic coming up very, very characteristic way. The way the anxiety and the fear developing, fear of disease, the fear of death, and the concomitant head hot, extremity cold with weakness, and thirst, peculiar thirst of small quantity, we gave him arsenic, since arsenic was going around at that time as a genus epidemicus. Now there were two thoughts, whether we are looking at arsenic or whether the arsenic is an actual simillimum, because people were distributed arsenic like anything. There were number of these homeoprophylaxis was going around. The arsenics were given, and whether when we have got this arsenic totality, I mean, it was a double check that whether yes, actually, is this arsenic or something else. By checking double, we confirm that yes, this is an arsenic indication with these characteristic symptoms so exclusively coming out, not at level of body alone at general level, but even at the level of mind. So we gave arsenic to the patient. The next day, there was no fever, there was no other complaint. His X-ray chest was normal, his mood was better, his fear and anxiety gone after a dose of arsenic, and generals improved. Now, because we tested corona, he came positive, he was taken into isolation ward and he was forced to take allopathic medications. Now, by the time in a couple of days, he had settled down completely. With allopathic medications, he developed diarrhea. We continued arsenic, which had no impact. So we started with Nux vomica and we continued Nux vomica for a couple of days. His loose motion settled. He was a known patient whose constitutional was defined. We gave him a constitutional remedy and he continued to be quarantined for 14 days. When he discharged, he was absolutely normal. Now the problem which we faced at that time, it was just like, how fast we can make somebody negative. I mean, that was the race going on at that time, that I have made in 2 days negative or 3 days negative. Now, this was the challenge. And if somebody doesn't become a negative in a couple of days or 3 days, we felt that remedy is not acting. I mean, it needed a further exploration of the state of that test, how that test impact, what is the importance of generals better, what is the importance of fever disappearing, what are the aspects of infectivity. Now these were the questions, that why all generals are better, so why a person continue to be an COVID positive. This boy continued to remain positive till second time when he was tested on 11 and then he tested negative. So, I mean, these were the questions that when everything is all right, things are improving, generals are better, the mind is better from an homeopathic perspective, why isn't that these becoming negative? So then the answers were sought for. So do we, there was a thought that are we not giving right medicine? Will this further get aggravated? Does he need something else? Now, when we were relying only on that test, the confusion continued. But then gradually we settled down and we realized that it's not that taste alone, but whatever general improvement which Dr. Hahnemann has said about the remedy response evaluation, which happened both at the general and a specific level, we settled down. Now this was the first case which we treated, which was the first-hand experience to begin with in month of May. Now, what are the learnings we derived out of the first case? I mean, there was a happiness that, oh, we treated COVID. Now, at that time, it was heroic. People who were getting all right and coming home were treated like heroes. And people who were treating COVID also felt a overwhelming satisfaction that, oh, we have done something great. And that was the first state of feeling. But is that feeling appropriate to move further? Or we need to look into the disease in a more deeper perspective and understand what the disease is and how does it progresses. So there were many questions which came in the mind. Is this a simple viral condition where, though sometimes the fatality do happen, and that happens with every viral disease? Is this the standard clinical course? This is how all the COVID cases progress? Is the arsenic genus epidemicus? Are the symptomatology same? Is the pathophysiology in all the cases are same? Is the diagnostic criteria and how do we interpret those diagnoses And how do we assess them for the prognosis of the case and the outcome of the case? Is there a possibility of getting connected with the symptomatic improvement? How do we understand the patient is improving? Is these investigations finally settling down? Is the final outcome? Or is this the process? Or what is the role of homeopathy? Is this that this virus and body developing antibody improves the susceptibility and the patient becomes all right by own, or homeopathy has any role? Now these were the real questions which started coming in. And most important is what is the role an individual susceptibility plays in a different expression of the COVID as a disease. Now, friends, this is going to be very puzzling things, because there were no major literature available. Things were changing every day. People were talking of poor or compromised immunity. Then why come some people who were healthy, they became severely ill, and some had to lose their life? I mean, there was some contradiction. So who are the immunocompromised? What is this immunological reactions? How does these reactions are important to judge, and how this virus is different than the other virus? Fortunately, in between we did treat a few cases, but they were very early stage cases, because majority of these cases were taken into the isolation ward, and we used to lose the further continuation. Another case. This was the second case which we got at the end of May. Are you able to now, before we enter into the second case, how a clinician is trying to explore? I mean, it would have been very easy for a normal or a general clinician, as we practice in our OPD, that okay, I gave the medicine, patient is all right, now we will see into the next case. And then we go on treating, looking at the symptoms, and we are happy. Is that what a clinician's role alone is? Or the clinician is a bridge between the patient and the researcher within and the researcher outside? Because they are in direct contact with the patient. If you have a researcher within, you will create questions, you will ask questions, you will explore questions. Then you will also try to answer them through your own exploration, or with a team you may explore with other people. Now this is an interesting case of a second case of a doctor who was working in a same hospital in ICU where he was admitted. He came in contact over many patients. His whole problem started on 21st and 22nd of May. It was very difficult to collect the data. Data was collected on 29th of May. By that time, almost 8 days had passed. Patient started his complaint with the cold, running nose, dry cough, and chest pain with body ache and weakness, but there was no breathlessness to begin with. After a couple of days, he started feeling cold and developed a very high fever of 103, 104. He, being a hot patient, he stopped AC. The palms and soles were hot, head and eyes were hot, and it was followed by full body sweating. SpO2 has started decreasing, and it was 92 to 94 with tachycardia, and X-ray has got ground glass opacity. Patient had headache, body ache, weakness, and he also had thirst for large quantity of water. So on 29th, we primarily repertorized the whole thing. Again, the phosphorus, arsenic, bryonia came up with the gradual onset and progress of the disease, and the concomitant headache, weakness, body ache, and the large quantity for the water, the thirst, and dry cough with the chest pain and a hectic fever. A bryonia was selected based on these totality, and we prescribed bryonia 200 2-hourly. On 30th May in the morning, the medicine was given on 29th May in the evening. His all standard allopathic medicines were going on till 29th. he was going on deteriorating, was not responding to those line of treatment as required. But overnight, Bryonia brought in a feeling of freshness. Even though there is a weakness which also improved, there was a dry cough. Cough was more dry compared to yesterday. Fever is also less today. He is able to sit and talk today, which was not possible yesterday and previous days. Fever intensity reduced with Bryonia. Oxygen saturation went to 97%. Normal pulse was below 95. Cough is troubling him. Dry cough, talking and eating while. So cough was the only major complaint which became dry and which was disturbing him. So there was a definite impact of Bryonia which happens. Now this case we could stand and say yes, homeopathy has made the difference in an overnight situation. But is the one case enough? Is it the one case experience is going to certify that homeopathy works? I mean, we need to understand with these few cases, will we be able to have a standard line of treatment parameters? Will we be able to have a standardized strategies? Or we will be able to have a standardized receiving and collecting evidences, validating evidences? Now, a lot of questions which comes up when you start treating such cases. Now, let's see what happens in the evening. Evening, you get a report. His CRP was 125. His ferritin has increased. They have started with Solu-Medrol, Slaxoin, and Augmentin. He had been shifted to higher COVID center. With X-ray shows bilateral ground glass opacities continue. Now, in spite of his general improved, just based on these investigation parameters, he was shifted to the higher COVID center. Because of this CRP, which is very high, the ferritin has increased. Now, these are the new investigations which we never used to do in a regular viral fever. Now, this COVID has taught us that what is it a viral infection amounts to? What inflammatory changes it takes place? How does a comorbidity impact, and what is the mechanism of those comorbidity, and how does it impact on the whole course of COVID and outcome? What is the CRP? And why the CRP is important? What is it marker? And how does it helps you in further deciding on your remedy response? What is ferritin? Why does a ferritin is an important inflammatory marker? And there are other investigations like LDH, and CBC is also very important with the ratio of neutrophil to lymphocytes. So now this is an important things which we learnt. I mean, I don't remember investigation of D-dimer, just writing that please do D-dimer. Now this pandemic has taught us that there are different markers of inflammation. Where is the inflammation? How those markers have to be judged? When does the ferritin increases? What is the CRP and how does it explode? What is the D-dimer? How does it connect with the embolic phenomena? So now this is a newer findings, and we as an homeopath, how we connect with this finding was a real challenge. In spite of fever improving, he was shifted to an higher center, his generals improving, his weakness improving. And by evening, there was no fever, almost no fever, body ache and headache, and no fever, body ache and headache, and in sense of well-being. Cough was slightly aggravated, and SpO2 level was 96 without oxygen. Now, this is an important way, through which you can really demonstrate that there's something else, not the standard current allopathic line of treatment, which has alone helped. So what is that, and how is that, and how will you demonstrate that yes, that has helped? This was the X-ray on 30th May. You can see ground glass appearance. On 31st, patient was much better. No fever today. Weakness improving. SpO2 98, 99%. Pulse around 100. On 1/6. Now this is another challenge which we faced. Patient was afebrile, minimal coughing. pulse and SpO2 normal, D-dimer came down to normal, CRP has reduced, but ferritin increased. Now, is the single marker which was increased can decide, because all other markers were reducing. Now, what really shocked us is in the evening when we saw, previous WBC was around 9,000. And before that, it was still less because it was a viral fever. How come a WBC count went to a 21,000? And you look at the neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, 90:7. Is the patient going into septicemia? Because normochromic, normocytic, but neutrophilic leukocytosis. But simultaneously, when CRP was done, it reduced further from 125 down to 63, down to 24. That means that there is a definite improvement and this system is settling down. Probably WBC also should respond next day. So the physician who was treating also did not panic, and he shared with the patient that something else has done it, not the allopathy alone. So then he told him that we started homeopathy from yesterday. And he acknowledged that yes, there is a definite change with homeopathy. And on 2/6/20, he was totally asymptomatic. Now you can see the difference from 29 to 1st. In 3 days, the impact homeopathy has made. And the patient was discharged. His case was defined. He was given lycopodium as a constitutional. He started again working in the hospital. He is stable and there are no post-COVID complaints. Again, is this the end? Or this again brings out a lot of more questions for an homeopath. Now, what are those questions? Okay, before that, now I will share that we redid the CD active, the CBC again. This was the X-ray, which was very clear on 3rd. And you look at the report, CBC report on 3rd, the neutrophil 60 and lymphocyte 34, things have started improving. The differential count has improved. The WBC count has come down. The CRP has went to 15. So, I mean, the drastically how Bryonia has made a definite change in the course of disease and the outcome of this. Now, can we celebrate and can we say that, yes, I have cracked? No, because we work on individualization. When you treat one patient does not mean that you will, the next patient you will be able to treat in a similar way. Until we explore, we understand the disease phenomena, the susceptibility, the spectrum of disease. So, from those perspectives now, what are the questions which come so that we can repeat these results on day-to-day basis and we can share with others so that we can fine-tune it and help the fraternity and the community as a whole. So what are the questions one needs to answer? How is the second case is different than the first case in a clinical progression? You saw the first case. It did not progress to the stage of septicemia. I mean, he was a young fellow. This man is a 50 plus. The whole progress in that and outcome was different. The progress in this man is completely different. So it is not a similar evolution. We need to study each case into its own entirety and totality. So it is not the COVID alone, it is a spectrum of clinical presentations which needs to be studied. Now, next question is, what determines this spectrum? How does a virus impact or the system impact the evolution of these infections? How does this viral infection differs from the previous one? Now, this is not the first virus which has come. We have now encountered these viruses day in and day out on a regular basis, and the severe things which happens in a few years, a new virus comes up. Is it the virus which is dangerous? or it is what it generates in a body. So is it a compromised state of immunity, or is it a overreactive state of immunity, or it is a compromised system in sense having a comorbidities? So what is it which determines these courses? Is there a standard presentation, or there is a multiple symptomatology, or there is a different combination of symptoms in a different people? How does an examination of one patient and different patient differs? Is the end organ impact is the same? Is the lung is the only end organ impact, or are there a possibility of other organs getting infected? What are the investigations? How do we investigate? How do we order? And how does those investigations tells us about the clinical state, the progress and the outcome? So now all these questions, which are really important for homeopathy, because we are not symptom hunter. We just don't say that, okay, we gave symptom disappear and everything was okay and we improved. No, we have to have a scientific evidence, and we need to develop those evidence, and evidence-based learning or evidence-based research will only happen, or evidence-based clinician, once we start exploring all these mechanisms and apply in our case taking. So let's see, these are the challenges for clinicians to unfold. Now, what are the challenges for homeopath? What new and important knowledge, skill and attitude one need to explore clinically to get homeopathic data? What type of individual susceptibility or individual dispositions or predispositions which decides the varied presentations, evolution, progress and outcome of the disease? How do we approach these cases of COVID? How do we form totalities? What are the standard approach? What are the repertorial references or differential criterias of materia medica, of repertory? Which sectors or which sections of repertories are more important? What is the importance of mental state, what we saw in the first case, as a mental concomitant to a disease, or a dispositional mental state to manage this COVID? How do we approach the differential materia medica, whether the sector remedy alone will help, or whether the constitutional will help, or what will be the role of different force? How does miasm modifies these codes? How does a miasmatic impact can be tackled? Whether the remedy given will cover the miasm or the intercurrent will come in? What are the criteria which will define the susceptibility and application of them in posology and remedy regulation? How do we manage these different forces? How do we manage complications? Now there will be complications which will come up of COVID, or maybe a sequelae, post-COVID impact. And how do we manage? Because they will come, so we need to prepare ourselves. And what is the role of a clinician as an individual in treating patient, in counseling patient, family and society? Now, these are the different perspectives which each clinician must explore, must get into different experiences, put them on the evidence, evolve the standard the approach to treatment of COVID. Now, is it applicable to COVID alone? Or we need to develop this mindset for all the diseases? Now, so we end with all these questions, the session 1. I hope you were with me till the end, and all those questions are there in your mind. Now the session 2, we will go and have a further insight into COVID, and we will discuss that what are the areas which clinician needs to look at, which will give him a better insight, better curiosity, better inquisitiveness, better collection of data which are known, and better collection of evidence which will make him evidence-based clinicians who can work as a researcher in his own clinic, in his own setup, without being always going to the laboratory, and having connecting, building up a team and able to communicate. So we will explore all those areas of journey of a clinician to a researcher the insight which we have got working with the COVID and the different areas which COVID has forced us to explore, the clinical, the investigations, the correlations, and from a homeopathic perspective, understanding susceptibility, management, miasms. So all these questions which I have put and how we need to move ahead to sort it down, what qualities and attribute we should inculcate to have this as a day-to-day behavior rather than a once in a lifetime opportunity when we get this and we do it for that moment. Thank you. We will meet in the next session with another case which will explore the post-COVID state, or how a long-term management and the impact on COVID happens, and what is the role of homeopathy. And then we will go into the quality of clinicians and which the clinician needs to inculcate to have become a researcher. Thank you.